Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Nicola. If this is your first time joining me, please don't forget to share with a friend and subscribe if you wish. If you are returning, thank you so much for joining me again in another video. So in today's video, it's a little bit different. Today I'll be sharing my testimony with you guys of how God take me through college with little to no money. I'm doing this video because it's been dwelling on my heart to do it, and I just want to encourage at least one person to continue their faith with their walk with the Lord, and to continue to believe and have faith and know that we serve a God of impossibilities. Like, he can do any and everything, so there's no limit with him. So that's the main reason I'm sharing this testimony. So I'm just gonna get right into it. I'm not gonna I might get off topic a little, but just bear with me, guys. It's my first time sharing a testimony, and I'm really excited to share with you guys. So fast forward to, I believe it was 2016 when I decided that I was going to college. So I remember I applied to a couple colleges in Southern Ontario, because I live in Southern Ontario in Canada, and I applied to colleges here like for the nursing program, and I did not get in. I literally did not get into any of the colleges that I applied for down here. I got into one, but it was pre-health, and if you know anything about the health field and pre-health, pre-health is literally like some courses that you have to take before you actually take the college courses. So, and I didn't want to do that. So I just remember I decided to go with my second choice. And my second career choice was to be a police officer. So I got into that. At a couple schools, and I remember saying that I was going to go to the college that was closest to me. It was within 5 kilometers, like it was really close. But at the time I did not drive, so I was taking the bus. So it was just one bus ride to get there. And I just remember I got into it, and I didn't have any money because, remind you, I kind of just graduated high school. I was working a minimum wage job, and at the time minimum wage was like $11 an hour, and I wasn't making a lot of money, and the money that I was making was just enough for me to just buy food and buy clothes and just literally have like a little bit of saving. It wasn't enough for me to go to college. And I remember using my father's information, and I applied for OSAP. So if you live in Canada, like about, or in Ontario specific, about Ontario Student Loan Assistance Program. I think that's what it's called, Ontario Student Loan Assistance Program. So it's OSAP. So this is basically when the government, they lend you money to go to school, and then at the end of when you're finished, you have to pay them back. So, and they give you the amount based on your parents' income and how far you live away from the school, stuff like that. That's what they use to determine how much money you get and who is qualified for it. So I remember applying for that, and remind you guys, I was living like 5 kilometers away from within 5 kilometers to the college, so that was like really close. And I remember applying, and I ended up getting, I think it was around 2,000 something, and that was enough to cover my tuition for the first year, because first semester, cover one semester, because a year cost, I think it was like 5,000 or 4,000 something, but one semester was like 2,000 something. So the money I got was able to cover my tuition. It couldn't buy books or anything, but it was able to cover my tuition. And I remember being in the police foundation program, and I was in there for about 2 months, and then I just felt like it wasn't for me. So I decided that I was going to finish the semester, and then I was going to withdraw from the program. So I did that, and at the end of the semester, I went to the financial aid office, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to withdraw from this program. So yeah, the money that I owe, I'm going to give it back because I'm planning to go back to school, blah, blah, blah. And the employee that was in the financial aid office, he's like, I don't know how you got any money, because first of all, you live like within 5 kilometers from the school, and second of all, your parents make too much money for you to be qualified for any OSAP at this time, because of well, close I was living and my parents' income, I wasn't supposed to get any money. And he's like, I don't know how you got that money, but you weren't supposed to get any money. So I was like, okay, well, I already got the money, and but during that whole time, I still wasn't thinking that it was God. I knew it was God, but I was in my sin. I was a sinner, and I didn't acknowledge God for his goodness. I was just like, oh my God, maybe I'm lucky. That's what I was thinking. Until I remember I remember getting into the nursing program for this September. At this time, it was May. It was around May, and I got into the program in September. But the nursing program that I got into was a college that was literally 8 hours away from my house. So I did not know that city. I did not know anyone in that city. I didn't know anything about that city. And I was just like, I'm going. I was literally like, I'm going. So I had 4 months to prepare myself to get to work and save money, because at this point I was about to leave my job that I was currently working, which was I was working part-time, so I was working on the weekends, and I was going to leave my job and go to this new city where I had no job, and I had to start paying rent, because wherever I was living I had to get somewhere to live. So I remember God was so good to me, because the college that I used to go to, the student card that you get, you can use that student card on the bus as a bus pass. So I remember when I started in January, I already paid for that student. So I had the student card for the whole year because I already paid for it. So because it was covered in the tuition kind of thing. And I remember I had that card, and then God blessed me with another job. And I was working 7 days a week. I kid you not, guys. I was working 2 jobs. One of my job was from Monday to Friday. And then I would have my weekend job at this restaurant that I used to work. And then I would work on Saturdays and Sundays. The only days off that I would get was when I would call in sick. And I probably did that 2 or 3 times. I would literally had to call in sick and be like, I can't make it to work, and I did that for 4 months, and as I said, God was so good to me. I had the student card, so I didn't have to worry about transportation, because I was going on the bus with my student card, so I didn't have to pay an extra fare. And I remember doing that, and I saved enough money. And then it was September rolled around, and at this time I used my dad information again, and I applied for the student loan. And at this time I think they gave me $7,000 or something like that. And I was like, because it was way further from where I was living, so I got approved for $7,000, and that $7,000 was enough to cover my tuition for the year. So I paid my tuition for the year, and there was a little bit of money that was left over, so I used it and I bought a couple textbooks. And let me tell y'all something, a little trick. If you're going to college, you need to go find that college, find their Facebook page. A lot of colleges have a Facebook page where they have used textbooks. Don't waste your money to buy a new textbook. I'm telling you, go on those college Facebook pages and check to see people who are selling their old textbook from previous year and buy that textbook, because buying these brand new textbooks are expensive, and you're only using it for 4 months, and then that's it. So I think I only got probably 2 new books, and then all the other books that I had, they were all used. So I bought it from previous students, and I did that. I went there, and the money that I saved, I believe I saved, it was around 4,000 something in the 4 months that I worked. And that money that I saved was literally just enough to cover my rent. So I was paying rent at this time. I was paying rent, I was buying food, I was buying clothes, not much clothes, but a little bit of clothes. I had a phone bill, and I had to and I wasn't working, and I didn't have any other support, because I was literally sending myself back to school. And the money that the government loaned me, it was just enough to cover my tuition for the year, which I'm super duper grateful, because I didn't have to worry about that. So I remember all the money that I saved at the end of that school year, it was done. It was coming around in April, when the school year was about rolling up, finish, because anything about college, school finishing in April. So it was rolling around in April, and the school year was finished. And I just remember I didn't have enough money. Like, the only money I had was to pay my rent for April. I didn't have money to pay my rents for May. And I just remember I was like, God, my only two options is, like, you see, I'm going to apply for two jobs. I did apply for the two jobs. You see that if I don't get these jobs, I'm going to have to literally move back to my dad's house and try to get a job there until September. And remind you guys, at this time, my dad and I, we weren't on too much talking terms. That's another story video, but we were not talking as much, like, so we didn't have a good relationship at this point. Like, there's some things happen and, like, we weren't talking. So I would have literally had to beg him to take me back in at that time. But those were my two options. I was like, God, you gotta help me out. And even though I was a sinner, I was still relying on God, for things. But I wouldn't give him the praise that he deserved when I get those things. If you get what I'm saying. And I just remember I applied for the both jobs, and God was so good. I got both jobs. And I remember the first time I got my paycheck, it was just enough time for me to pay my rent out of it for like the coming months. And I did that. And then I worked all summer. And I was so lucky because during that time I moved from where I was living, and I moved to like another house that was closer to the college, and that was cheaper. And it was better. Everything was better. The room was better. The location was better. The people that was living there, they were better. And like it was closer to the college, and it was cheaper. So I remember moving there and that summer, and when I went there, like, the landlord, there was a bicycle in the backyard, and he said the tenant left it there, so I can have it if I wanted. And I was so blessed. I was so happy. Like, it's such a small thing, but it helped me out a lot, because in the summer I would ride the bicycle to work and ride the bicycle back. So instead of me having to take the bus, because where the workplace was, there was a bit of distance. It would take me about 20 minutes to ride there. So it was a lot. It was literally probably like a 40-minute walk. So I would, and instead of walking, like, it would have been better for me to take the bus, because it would have been more convenient to take the bus instead of walking all that time. And I remember I used to ride to work and ride back. And then the other job that I got, that was like really close to me, but I wasn't getting as much shifts there as I was getting in the place that was further away. And the place that was further away, they were paying more. I felt more comfortable there. Like, the staff was better. Like, everything was just better there compared to the one that was closest to me. So I kind of stick to the one that was further away, because I got like more hours and I wanted the hours. So I worked that job, and I was there for like 3 months. For 4 months. I worked like from like May up until the end of August. And I remember in August, around July, I think it was like June, in June coming. So now I'm like thinking of applying for the student loan again, because even though I was working, it wouldn't be enough to cover my tuition. It would just be enough to cover my housing expenses and food for the year, because going back to school, I wouldn't be working, because going to nursing school and working, it's hard. So I wasn't gonna do that. So nursing is hard on its own, so imagine going to school with that. It's a lot. So I wasn't gonna do that. So I just remember I think it was around June, when I was thinking of applying again for the OSAB, the Ontario Student Loan, so I could pay my tuition for my second year. My dad decided to text me, because the devil will try. The devil will really try. And as I said, guys, we weren't talking at this time, and he messaged me, and he's like, you can't use my information to apply for student loan. And I was like, okay. And he's like, yeah, you can't use my information, and if you do, I'm gonna report you, something of that sort. And I was like, okay. So this time I'm like, okay, this man is here telling me that I can't use his information. I'm considered as a dependent student, because in Canada, the thing is, even if you're on your own and once you're under 25 years old, the government consider you, when you're under 25 years old and you're going to school, the government consider you to be a dependent. And there's another criteria. I believe if you go back to school once you graduate from high school, if you go to college like within less than a year time after graduating from high school, then you're considered dependent. So, and I started going back to college, it was probably like 4 months after I graduated from high school. And then I was under 25, so, and I was going to college, so I was considered a dependent, even though I was independent, but I was considered dependent. So I couldn't apply independently, I had to apply dependently, so I had to use a parent income. And my dad, the only one that I had here, literally the only parent that I have here, he's telling me that, hey, you can't use my information. And at this time, like, okay, so what the heck am I gonna do? So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna use my mother's information. And my mother, guys, my mother has never stepped foot in Canada's soil, so to use her information is like, they wouldn't even approve me. But I was taking a leap of faith, y'all. I was like, you know what? I'm going to college. I'm not stopping. I don't have the money to pay for the tuition, but I'm like, God's gonna provide. I come this far, and He's not gonna leave me here. That's literally was my mindset. So I'm like, I'm gonna apply for using my mother's information regardless. And I remember I applied and I used my mother's information. And y'all, I got approved. Like, I literally got like $5,000. And I was like, I was shocked myself, because I was like, okay, you don't use your mother's information that's literally never been to Canada, doesn't live in Canada, and then get a student loan from that. But it happened anyways. And who could it be but God? You know, God, it was all God, man. As I'm telling you, we serve a God that does the impossible. And just fast forward, I remember I got the money and I paid my tuition, and I was going through my school year. I saved money, but at the time, like the 4 months that I was working, I was paying rent and I was buying food. So like, I didn't save as much money as I saved the first time, but I did save some money to cover my rent for the whole rest of the year, basically. And to buy food. And I remember when it was coming down to the end of the school year, I met a friend, and Sade, hi Sade, if you're watching this, and she was telling me about a guidance counselor. She's like, yo, go to the guidance counselor and tell her that you need some help, like, and they'll provide you with like grocery cards, and they'll help you, like, if you need more money, and they'll help you out that way. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to the guidance counselor. So I just remember I went to the guidance counselor, and I was telling her my situation. I'm telling her that, you know, I'm not getting any support from anyone, and I'm doing this on my own, and the government considered me as a dependent student, and I'm telling her that I use my mother's information, that my mother is away she's not in Canada, and I use her information to apply for the student loan. And y'all, this lady literally looked at me and she's like, you use your mother's information? You know, they say guidance counselors are not supposed to be judgmental. I felt so judged in that situation. She was literally looking at me like, you mean to tell me you use your mother's information to apply for OSAP, and OSAP approved you that money? And I'm like, yes, they did. And he's like, really? And I'm like, yes. I felt so judged, because she was saying like, girl, you lied. Like, that's literally, basically, she could have just literally told me that to my face, because her reaction and everything was literally just bringing off that, like, she was saying, excuse me, guys, like, she was saying I was lying. And I just remember she's like, okay, I'm gonna check it out, and you know, so she went and she checked it out, and then she found out that I actually used my mother's information. And the financial aid lady, she was like, I don't know how she got approved this money, but in any circumstances she would have never got approved, because you can't use someone's information that is not in the country and that's never been in the country to apply for a student loan. So she's like, I don't know how she got approved, but when they do like the re-evaluation, then they would have find out that I shouldn't have got the money. So, but I was like, well, I already got the money, and it's not like I'm not gonna pay you guys back. Like, this money's not free. Like, I have to pay it back. And she was like, yeah. So at that time, she asked me to write a letter to the financial aid office, explaining to them why I'm an independent student. And I wrote that letter, and God was so good. Like, I ended up getting another, I think it was like $3,000. And that was perfect. That was enough to cover my food expenses for the rest of the year, and my rent. And then I was able to apply for my licensing and register for my license and everything, my nursing license when I graduate. It was good. And I even got some, like, they gave me the food cards. I got some of the grocery cards where I could run to the grocery store and get some food. It was good, man. And just, yeah, so, and even throughout my whole time in college, I remember just saying, I always have this faith, like, even though I was in my sin, I always believed in God. I know God. I didn't know him personally, but I knew of him, and I know how good he is. And I always have this faith, because even through college, I was like, I'm not failing. I was like, there's no room for failure. Like, I got money to fail. Because if you know anything about these colleges, if you fail in college, you have to pay for an extra year to go back. And I was like, do not have them kind of money. So there's no room for failure. So that's the mindset I had. And I went in, and thank God I graduated. I did not fail any classes. And it was a struggle, but I did it. And it was all praises to God, because it was God all along, and I did not give him the praise. And now I just have to give him all the praise, because he deserved all the praise. And yeah, so, like, I'm just sharing this testimony to inspire or motivate at least one person. If you're out there and you're struggling financially, like, if you don't see the way, just know that God always have a way. I don't know why I'm getting emotional right now. I feel like I want to cry. But I'm just encouraging at least one person, Like, God always make a way. And no matter when you see, like, it looks like there's no way out. Like, he'll make a way, And, why am I crying? Okay. He'll make a way. Like, So just don't give up. Like, just keep pressing, keep believing, keep the faith, keep holding the faith, because he'll make a way for you. And if he made a way for me, he can make a way for you. And I know a lot of you will be watching and you're like, that is such a simple testimony and blah blah blah. But what's simple to you, it's big for me, like, just looking back, and I'm like, it was only God did all of this. It's by his grace why I'm here today. Like, graduated, went through college with no support but God. I worked my way through there, So I just want to give him all the praise, and I just want to encourage at least one person, just keep the faith, keep praying, keep hoping, and seek God. The Bible said, seek he first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and everything will be added to you. Like, things that I didn't know before, like when I was a sinner, like, now I knew. And I just want to tell you to seek him first, the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and everything that you want and everything that you need will be added to you. Don't worry about it. So anyways, y'all, thank you so much for watching. I hope you watch the video to the end. And yeah, if you like what you see, please add a comment to encourage me to keep going, like, and to let me know, like, if this inspire you anyhow or any way at all. Anyways, thank you so much. I'm not gonna edit this video, so whatever you see is whatever I did. So thank you so much, and bye. Oh, God bless you, and remember to stay positive, love yourself, love on somebody, encourage somebody today, because we're all ready and we're all God's children.